Sup, beautiful souls? You guys are in for a treat. In this episode, I interview Bill Bauman. And for me, my heart is still kind of fluttering a little bit to know that such a person like Bill exists as a human body. A soul who has been able to completely merge with the quantum void for 7 years. Physical, emotional, mental, and literally merge and then re-emerge. And then now he's sharing his wisdom. But it's more than wisdom. It's his being, it's his resonance, it's his frequency. So a lot of nuggets in this episode of the path, all the way from subconscious reprogramming hypnosis, all the way to merging completely with the quantum, being reborn through the quantum, and then literally now through his presence alone, blessing humanity. So you don't want to miss this episode if you're into anything quantum fun, quantum alignment, quantum merging with Dr. Bill Bauman. Check it out. Love, light, peace, and truth to all sentient beings. What's up, beautiful souls? Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Psychiatrist podcast. Today, I'm excited to have, before quantum was popular, okay? Dr. Bill Bauman has been talking about the quantum, the void, and that we are quantum beings. He's written 4 books. And most of all, you can just tell he's here for the service to humanity. And he's gone deep personally. And now the quantum is becoming more popular. So I'm excited to dive into kind of the quantum world, the quantum void, and how to become quantum in this beautiful inflection point in humanity's history. So welcome to the show, Bill. Thanks for being here.
Sam, thank you so much. I want to say I'm deeply honored that you invited me here, and I'm really honored to be able to have this opportunity to share everything about the quantum with whoever is here watching this.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for being here. With that being said, Bill, you've been in this quantum field, for a long time, and now it's slowly starting to become a little bit popular, but you were talking about it before it was popular. Can you walk us through a little bit about your hero's journey, Bill, and how you became quantum? What were the key highlights? And, walk us through your hero's journey and how you came to understand the quantum world and merge with the quantum.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'd be delighted to, Sam. Maybe I'll start with a little background. I've basically been a mystic. I've been mystically oriented my whole life. So, which simply means, in addition to living strongly and powerfully in this human world, I've been introduced to and live strongly in other worlds as well. And those include the world of love, the world of the soul, the world of light, really deeply the world of energy, the world of all the levels of the mind, conscious, subconscious, unconscious, etc. And I found in all of those worlds, this is before I got introduced to the quantum world, if you will, in all of those, I was invited into it to be, if you will, a full-time resident therein. And there was a certain gift in that world, certain gift in the world of light, certain gift in the world of love, etc., that really wanted to be present in the human realm, really wanted to be of service to each and every human being who was open to it. And so in all the various orientations that I had and styles of service I had in serving our human family over the years, each one of those gifts was there. For example, just as a practicing psychologist, I specialized in hypnosis and hypnotherapy for a number of years. And that was the world of the subconscious mind. And as we know, there's a power in the subconscious mind, which is the power to heal deeply rooted, deeply seated kinds of issues that we have. Then the same thing, for example, in the world of light, in that realm, which is the world of spirit, if you will, the world of the soul, there's a powerful blessing that can be there. There's a penetrating power of light that can just kind of take place inside each person and awaken that person to who that person really is. So I've had the privilege of hanging out in those realms, but more important, maybe, just taking whatever is the gift that those realms really want to give us, want to have awaken within each person, and be a messenger of that and be a conduit of that. So that was all going well, and there I was, walking on my way to the forum, so to speak. And I started to get this. This is a good 20 some years ago. I started to get this drive about the quantum. There was something about this quantum that started calling me, started kind of urging me from within myself that there's something there. And then I'd love to share this little story. So I read all sorts of books, etc. And then one day I read this study, and it was one of these aha moments, if you will. I read this study, this quantum research study, that basically said, and it was a study about time, that if we go into our cells and then deeper down to every atom, if we take any individual atom within us, and atoms, of course, are the beginnings of life within us, and then go right to the middle of it where that nucleus is, really submicroscopic little space, and then peer in there. What they did is they took whatever instruments they could come up with and went into that. And of course, they came upon the subatomic particle world, where all the subatomic particles, gluons, muons, etc., there are like gobs of them. And as they went deeper and deeper, they noticed the time started going slower and slower and slower. And at some point, time disappeared. Well, that hit me. But for some reason, I mean, somebody else would look at that and say, oh, that's nice. But for me, it was like, oh, so time doesn't live in this basement of our being, if you will, in this subatomic realm. And space doesn't live there either. In fact, Einstein famously said a number of times that space and time are basically phantasms. They're a creation of our consciousness. They're not really there. And then I kind of got what he meant. So I realized that this was the aha. Oh, our whole existence is floating on this invisible sea of non-existence. That somewhere in each one of us, in other words, quantum world, quantum void is not just out there beyond creation, it's the source of creation, but it's in here. And all of a sudden, boom, there was the calling. Then I realized, oh, like I've been called to all these other realms, I have a calling to live in this complete emptiness, the quantum void. And you're right, this was before it got super popular. But the journey in that was amazing and remarkable to me. So without going into the nature of the journey right now, unless it's important later, it's like I got to let go. Of course, we talk about death of the ego. So everything that was left in me of a human nature, of a human identity, it just dissipated. And I wound up becoming, if you will, that emptiness. And of course, for example, some versions of Buddhism, it's very much about meditating on emptiness, becoming emptied out, if you will. And that's really what happened with me. Everything in me just dissolved into nothing. So, on the one hand, that sounds boring, and actually it is, because it's not an energetic thing. There's no energy there. And it's not a super consciousness thing. It's like there's no highs. There's not even light there. It's just complete emptiness, nothingness. And that, of course, requires its own adjustment. But once there, I started, like in everything else, started getting initiated into what is it in our quantum emptiness? What is it in the quantum void within each of us, that sort of basement of the house that we are, that is here, that is a gift to us? And so from there, I started to realize that, oh, I'm called. And I'm called to be the voice of, the expressor of, but really, again, the conduit of that. And if I could put it this way, and I could say it other ways, but that quantum power. There's a power that lives within us that is, until recently, mostly unnoticed, unknown. We haven't had a theory of it, if you will, mainly because it's invisible, intangible. It's like it's not on the radar of the conscious mind, and it's barely on the radar of our energy system, of our light system, if you will. But it's there as what in a way that's been, I think, the invisible power behind the throne of everything else that we are as human beings. And for me, the discovery was and is that power, that quantum void has decided that it's time for it to come alive in each of us. Just like, for example, go back to Jesus, who was the voice of and the conduit of love. And so at that point in human history and evolution, it was time for love to have a magic, phenomenal opening and residency, if you will, in the human heart, and for love to become a powerful, powerful resource for us to do our human scene. And then also go back to Buddha, if you will. Buddha, the messenger and the conduit of pure light, being the enlightened one, of course, it was time for light to be that kind of resource. So we have these powers from these bigger dimensional fields, love, light, etc., that are here to not just support us in being human beings, but to wake us up to the fullness of who and what we are as human beings and beyond what we are as human beings into the bigger force field, the bigger identity of who we are. So all of that said, it's like it looks to me like, and this is how I hear it from the quantum void, like, now it's time for us in our human evolution, for our quantum nature to come to the fore, just like love, just like light. And this time bring a beyond creation, a whole different kind of power, a power that is, if you will, the power of nothing, the, the power of emptiness, the power of a quantum, and I wish I had a word big enough for this. And of course, when we're talking about anything quantum, we don't have too many words, but the power of the quantum source. And that's the word I tend to give it a little more. The quantum source, that source is within us. Just like, we talk about the divine living within us. Well, the quantum source lives within us, and it's a power, and it's a power that's accessible to us. So from that, I had retired for about 7 years, or that's the illusion. I thought I retired for about 7 years, and that was, of course, my deep quantum time. I went into my quantum cave, and at the end of that, this big internal announcement that it's time for me to hop back out there and be the voice of the quantum void. So that's my story, and thank you for asking. I felt it was a delight to share that with you and with everybody who's here.
Absolutely. So, I've been diving into what it calls quantum morphogenetic physics. And so I'm tracking from my own kind of vocabulary. So in the beginning, there was only the void. And from this void of source wanting to experience itself, who am I? It asked the question. And then through the quantum, and I think you're talking about the muons, trions, and way smaller subatomic particles that are way smaller than what scientists currently call the God particle, beyond what they can even measure. From there, the smallest particle, source particle, which is omnipolar ability to split itself into electric and magnetic, masculine, feminine, and then it replicates itself, and then it forms into these, if you want to call it scallions and clusters of crystals, which form into these morphogenetic fields, which form into these universes and galaxies, which matter condenses upon all around in universes and galaxies, and a specific mathematical formulation which is constantly expanding but also contracting back into the source. And it sounds like from your beginnings of hypnosis to reprogramming the subconscious mind, then the light merging with the light, your soul, and then from there going into this 7-year cycle. And 7 years is a cycle of consciousness where your cells were literally merging with the quantum field of the void, and as within so without, as above so below. And so as your cells continuously merged with that for a cycle of consciousness, eventually the end path of all spiritual paths is service to humanity, once you realize that you are the source. And it sounds like after that 7-year cycle, you came out and is now the voice of the quantum, and sharing with, humanity about our quantum nature, that there's levels to this. I don't want to call it a video game, but this hologram, and there's multi-dimensional levels. And then it sounds like you went into the smallest particle level and merged with the quantum from there, the void, the quantum void, and then came emerged back out from it, and now is serving humanity, written 4 books and sharing about the quantum field. Bill, what do you see currently, as you were kind of like in the beginning, you were there with, before quantum was popular, you were already studying about the subconscious, about this light, the multidimensional levels, and now humanity is in this interesting inflection point where there's a lot happening in humanity, and more people are starting to learn about the quantum. From your perspective, with your experience, what do you see kind of in where humanity's at and where we're going, and what's been coming forward to you regarding kind of humanity's, I don't want to say plight, but current state of being and where we're intending to go?
Thank you. First of all, I loved your description. Thank you. It was an exquisite description. It was beautifully scientifically languaged, but also mystically and spiritually infused. It was just, I love the way you've beautifully coordinated and integrated, the scientific, the spiritual, the energetic aspect of all of that. That was beautifully done. Congratulations. It was great.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, I could just sit and listen to you forever. I was thinking, oh, and we should just keep speaking. It was really cool. But back to your question, I'm not sure why the timing is now. I mean, who knows why the timing was there with Buddha, there with Jesus, there with Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu, to me, Taoism basically said to be is to do. So to me, he was, among other things, the voice of being. Like to be is to do. So just to be and to be in a state of being is as powerful as, even more powerful than whatever doing we do. So who knows why those were the moments. But I feel like this is another one of those very special moments of singularity for our human family. And it's from a human perspective, I think it's just a time of enormous blessing for us. Like we're opening up a whole new facet of infinity, but infinity quantumness as it lives within us, as not just a resource, but as a power that can be and is meant to be the dominant, huge power of each person there. So I don't know the why of that, but I really am aware of it. If I go back to sort of the beginning of this quantum awareness, I think it was in the Hindu Upanishads, where they talked about Atman, Atman, which was their word for the quantum void, and it was their way of saying, in the beginning there was complete nothingness, emptiness, no form, invisible, intangible, and then, as you said, it's like when Atman became conscious of itself, when consciousness awoke out of that emptiness, all of a sudden, then everything was possible. Because the consciousness was, if I'm nothing, then I can express as everything. And then I love the way you express that. If I just put that in some of my words saying the exact same thing, actually, is the way I do it is I sit in the middle of the quantum void and I look out. And again, I'm using human words. Looking out is a whole human perspective, if you will. And we're stuck with hardly any words that can adequately describe anything quantum. So forgive me. But as I look out, I see this vast emptiness, this nowhereness, this nothingness, which to me is totally awesome, totally like indescribably amazing. And then if I look or peer into it, I start to see what scientists would call subatomic particles, what someone from a consciousness perspective would call possibilities. And so I tend to look at it through both of those lenses. But if I stick with the possibilities, it's like, wow, there are all these possibilities, not in any form yet, but that's the everythingness. So if I'm nothingness, implied in that is I am and have the capacity to express as everythingness. And that everythingness is, as you said, it's every dimension, it's every universe, it's every every world, every realm. And to me, that's what creation is. It's like all these possibilities in this, I'll say, mind of quantum, mind being way too small a word. It's all of those being imaged, being imagined as real, as expressive. And so to me, we live in a multi-dimensional series of realms. It's like anything that could be imaginable is created, and it's created in this quantum void consciousness, if you will. And for me to sit in the middle of that, I am in a state of awe, just at the emptiness, at the everythingness. And then I kind of look at it this way. So if I'm, again, way too human a description, but if I'm the quantum void, and if I'm absolute nothingness, out of which comes all these possibilities and all these ways of envisioning myself, I would sort of like being in a kitchen putting together a recipe. It's like, oh, well, here's one. Here's one. Let's have space. Let's put space together with time. Okay, put that there. And then let's add. Let's add light. Fill the space with light. Then how about if we put energy in the light? We'll have light move around, and we're creating, if you will, a story. We're creating a movie. We're creating a dream. We're creating a creation. And then we'll put a few other things in there: duality and morality and humanness and all of those things. Physicality. Let's put all those together, and wow, I'll image that as a creation. What would that be like? So, as you implied, I'm imagining my nothingness as everythingness, and then as a specific somethingness. And so we're one little dot in a huge, limitless field of possibilities being lived out as if real. So that raises the philosophical question, which we don't need to get into necessarily, but is this real? Is it real or is it imagined? The book I wrote, the last book I wrote, I entitled it Emptiness Dreaming. Now, dreaming is a metaphor, and to say that the quantum void is dreaming us is way too human, but it's the best I could do. Okay, it's the best any of us can do in a sense. So the quantum void is imagining, imaging, dreaming us as if real, and putting all of these ingredients together, all these possibilities together, and is fascinated with the story, if you will, the human story, and then injects from time to time something to not just make the story more interesting, which also is true, but to empower the story, to keep the story going. Like a writer would be writing a story and saying, well, we need an extra element here. So to me, that's what, and then I come back to your question, or at least as close to an answer to your question as I can get. What are the implications of this for us as human beings? To me, we humans, we do a magnificent job of whatever we are as human beings, but we flounder. It's being human is challenging. It's tough. It's, we've got certain tools to deal with, but being in duality is a huge challenge. Spiritually, we're in a world of oneness. Everything's unified. It's marvelous. But then we start separating ourselves out, and all sorts of things happen. Then we introduce emotionality into that, how we feel about this. Then we introduce morality to it, where we're always evaluating it. Well, one side of duality is good, the other's bad. One is success, the other's failure. So it's a complicated series of challenges that keep calling us into being more and more and more of who we are. So I feel like the introduction or reintroduction, if you will, of this quantum power as the source, like the internal source, like the sun is to the planets, if you will, this source of beyond creation power, this source of quantumness that has the power to wake us up, in a sense, to wake us up from the dream so that we can be an awake dreamer. So we're still doing the human dream, but we've got an awakeness which says, oh, now I'm fast forwarding, oh, I'm a quantum being. I'm actually dreaming myself. And all these possibilities are now awake in me, which allow me to be much more connected to all the possibilities, allows me to be less connected to the judgments. This is positive, this is negative. I'm a wonderful person, I'm a lousy person, and all the energy that that takes, and just be in the deeper, fuller truth of us so that we can take the nature that we're born with and the potential that we're born with and really accept that, own that, be in that, and let that force take us over, so to speak, to be everything we can be. So I feel like the quantum nature of us, the quantum source within us, and especially the quantum power within us. And that, to me, the word power is as close as I can come to what the real gift is. It's like there's a whole new source of power, which is not the power of energy. It's not even the power of light. It's not even the power of divinity, if you will. It's the power of emptiness, which we have no concept about except in its effects. And so just in the last, so I've been back out into the world for a year and a half or so now. And I've had the privilege of hanging out with appointments, if you will, with hundreds of people and talking to other groups of hundreds of people. And so I've had the experience of witnessing the effects of this, and they're absolutely phenomenal in a way that we can't explain. It's like when we let go and open to and get immersed in, to whatever degree and whatever way, our quantum nature, something magical happens, and something sometimes miraculous happens because it's the power beyond creation that can insert itself in creation, come alive, and make the difference. So for us as a human species, a human family, a collective human consciousness, if you will, I feel like I'm talking mostly so far about the gift to each of us as an individual, but there's a gift to us as a human family. My awareness and my experience is that this is as available to our collective human consciousness, which is, of course, like Carl Jung's term, collective unconscious, for all of us as human beings. And there's a theory, as I'm sure you know, that at the unconscious level, conscious mind, subconscious mind, unconscious mind, at the unconscious level, we are a collective human consciousness. We are a human family. So in that sense, at a conscious level, I'm Bill Bauman, the individual. At a subconscious level, I'm that, but oh gee, I'm all sorts of other things too. So I'm the individual me. Subconsciously, I'm the everything me. Unconsciously, I'm the human me. So I'm an archetypal human at that level. So whatever happens with any individual becomes a factor in the collective humanness. So I feel like, and I see that this quantum void is awakening itself in our collective humanness as well. So that perhaps we as human beings, using that as a resource and living more and more over however many years in that as a resource, that power can be a bigger force for us to create the dream, the human dream that we collectively are created for. So it's the, put that to a final sentence, I feel like the quantum is here now so that the dream of being human can be all that it ideally has been meant to be.
Oh, yeah, and I love the journey that you took because you started with it sounded like hypnosis and it really getting, and this is a model for a lot of us walking this quantum path is to reprogram kind of the subconscious mind, the body into the programming. And Dr. Joe says by the age of 35, 95% of everything we do is subconscious mind programming. And so started there. And then from the hypnosis, it sounds like you went into this 7-year period of incubation with the subatomic particles and merge with the quantum void. And this is what some people say at one, you become nothing, nowhere, no time, but you become everywhere, everything, all of time. And in that state, the void, the quantum void with quantum morphogenetic physics, if I'm tracking correctly, it's beyond light. The light body, the soul, it's beyond this. It's beyond that. And it's almost like what quantum physicists might call the dark matter body from which all matter emerges. And beyond the dark matter body is the spirit body, which is on the unmanifest side of creation. equation, which manifests and materializes into all living things in different density forms. But the spirit body becomes the dark matter body, and then the dark matter body then forms the light body, which then becomes the physical body. And it sounds like in that state of quantum void, the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual all start to become almost like merged together as one in the dream, like that original state. And then that's very interesting to me how after 7 years, which is a cycle of consciousness, according to certain traditions, you emerged and received. And now this is when one, person learns how to run the 4 minute mile, it opens up that quantum potential for every single person living on earth. Then a lot of people start breaking the 4 minute mile on different places. And so you merged with the quantum, and then you merged out. And if I'm hearing you correctly, for the potentiality, once you awaken from the dream, the being and the doing, as Latu said, are one. The service is a noun. The unique frequency and encryption that each person carries when they're just being is a service to humanity, which is literally through the silver cord below, literally sending that frequency of that unique encryption into the core of Mother Earth, which is also doing grid work for the shield of Mother Earth and for all of humanity just by being. And then from there, when we're in being, the brain can drop into it. All the programs are not running, which means I don't have to do anything. I don't have to be anything that I'm not. And then from there, the alpha brain waves kick in, and we can get a message. Oh, if you want to, from the void, which you described so beautifully, that potentiality of something. Oh, this void, from the void of just being, there's this potentiality to create something. And according to the first creation physics that source followed, exactly, we get to really replicate that first creation physics if we choose to create something. And it sounds like source, according to this cycle in humanity, is awakening itself from the dream through us, and we're merging with the quantum, and we're realizing the original intention of source perhaps was for this to happen, to go to the darkness of the dark and to allow this 26,500 year cycle, so that she who is forgiven much can love much, and he who has been to the darkness can appreciate the light all the more. And then it sounds like a lot of us are awakening now from the dream, and the unconscious is becoming conscious, more of the subconscious is becoming conscious, and we're awake from the dream and the reality that we can create, just like source, a new earth. And if we hadn't been to the dark, we wouldn't even appreciate the light of what we're about to create for humanity in this upcoming cycle. Bill, can you talk to me a little bit about the quantum void, that 7 year period? Can you tell me a little bit more about what that was like for you, that experience of being the emptiness and merging with that, and then emerging from that? And like, that's how that transition was. And if you can enlighten us a little bit about that stage, that incubation stage, and then emerging from that, because that's quite a transition.
Thank you. First of all, I just to go back to a lot of what you just said, I am loving hanging out with you, and I'm loving sort of the partnership that I'm experiencing, you and me having, talking to these wonderful people. Hello out there. These wonderful people who are watching this, because it's we have slightly different language to say the exact same thing, and so I feel like the privilege here is for both of us, but for everyone else here is to get this from a kind of a multiple perspective. And so I'm celebrating hanging out with you, and thank you for just a wonderful time. And so that said, yeah, I would be delighted to share a little bit of that 7 year journey. It could be a little
First of all, Bill,
gruesome. So
how do you merge with the quantum void, for people who are out there who might be like, how do you do that? Yeah.
there's two simple words: let
Mm,
go. It's just,
mm,
and then I'll fill that in just a second. So to do that from a theoretical and realistic perspective, there's very few things that we can do humanly to merge with the quantum void, to immerse into that emptiness, because that is the source and the power, and if you will, the magnet that's drawing us to itself. So the bulk of the work that we would call work gets done invisibly, intangibly, out of nothingness, using the power of nothingness to be that magnet to draw us in. And that's why I find myself often saying, quantum consciousness, if you will, is there for those who feel some calling to it, or something in oneself that is saying, sort of like I said about myself 20 some years ago, oh, there's something in me that's nudging me to a quantumness or to a quantum hood or to a quantum awareness. And so if that nudge is there, if that calling is there, or to blame the soul for it, if that soul invitation is there, then the quantum start itself starts taking over and simply drawing us there. But the one thing we can do humanly is let go. And I'll fill that in a little bit. We can let go of our beliefs. We can let go of our prized values. We can let go of any sense of identity, human identity, identity as a this or that I happen to be. Let go of any attachments that we've got. Just let go. So have a willingness to let go, and not just a willingness, but an intention to let go. And that invitation will keep coming up and coming up and coming up until the letting go actually happens more, happens more, happens more. And then all those attachments start to dissolve over time. So that's what we can do. And the rest pretty much happens by itself. So, for example, for me, before I supposedly retired and went into what I called my cave, where I just cut myself off from everything outside except the cave and my precious, beautiful life with my life partner, Donna. Before that, I had been teaching quantum. I had been doing mentoring groups with quantum focus, etc. And so I was there for the most part. There was little ego. We talk about death of the ego. So that's really what we're talking about right here. There was precious little of that left. So the 7 years were about the complete demolition of not just ego from a mental construct perspective, not just ego from an emotional part, but from a physical perspective, from an energy perspective, from a cellular, subcellular perspective. So for me, the calling was, and everybody's called to the quantum in a unique way. Mine was total. And I think I was total simply because I'm here. I've been chosen to be here, to be as pure and clear a voice of the quantum as possible. So for me, it was mostly cellular. It was mostly physical. There was next to nothing much left in the mental perspective. But all of that came together, as you say, they all came together and they became putty in the hands of the quantum magnet, if you will, that just drew them in. For me, it was quite a physical journey. My life force diminished. I got weaker. My breathing got challenged, etc. Breathing being a symbol of aliveness, if you will. And probably 7 or 8 other things, muscles starting to disappear, and just without going into any other detail, just getting weaker. And of course, the gift for me was I knew totally what was happening, and I was embracing every bit of it. And so then it got to a certain point where, and I'll add something else. And also in that, what happens when that starts happening, when the death of the ego is happening, we go through some phases. One phase is boredom. This is so boring. Our emotions are not there to rescue us. Our emotions are being dissolved. So we're not feeling great. We're not even feeling terrible. We're just not feeling. Boring. And so that takes a little adjustment, if you will. And then we get close to nothingness. And then there's the whole sense of emptiness that from a human perspective takes some getting used to, because nothing outside starts looking real. Or it starts to look not real. It starts to look fuzzy. It starts to look like a dream. The whole concept of reality starts to fade away. So, and these are all attachments. We're attached to the notion that this is real. We're attached to the sense that, back to Einstein saying that space and time are real. So we all start just seeing things a bit by bit through the eyes of the quantum, and it starts getting really fuzzy. So I'm just mentioning those as side effects. So I got to a point where, and this was my personal assumption, I had no conscious idea I would be back in the world. I just assumed that, okay, retire, kind of go totally into the quantum for me and for the collective human consciousness. That was the gift. And then I just assumed I would die. But at the end of that process, I got to that place where, like, there's a kind of an unhearable clunk when you hit the bottom of the barrel. And oh, I'm there. Now, of course, the funny thing, if you say I'm there, is there's no I to be there. So the I is dissolved into that. So we have to redefine the word I. So what's here is quantum nothingness. And I'd love to say, wow, it's wonderful, but it's nothing. So there's not an emotion to it. Like, for example, in the field of light, if we're enlightened or process of being enlightened, there's still some sense of bliss. There's some, light can be a blissful something. We don't get that at the quantum level. So I hit that, and then all of a sudden, this is maybe a really cool thing to share. All of a sudden, something happened with my body. My body started getting recreated. And there was, for lack of a better word, a quantum equivalent of life force that started filling my body. And it didn't feel at all like the life force that I had before, but it started filling my body. And so I went from this place of very weak physical presence to more energy, more energy, more energy. Not really energy, it's a quantum style energy, if you will, because it's not energy itself, it's something else. And then the same thing, because my brain had taken a hit, my everything took a hit, and all this recreation out of nothing. So a new creation. So it's sort of like the Christian concept of death, tomb, and resurrection, if you will. Like, so I died, I hung out in the tomb of emptiness. And then there was this recreation, resurrection, not back into the physical form, energetic form, emotional form, mental form that I was, but like I was a quantum being, like Homo quantum as opposed to Homo sapiens. And so the Homo quantum took over what had been the Homo sapiens, and there was this new creation. And so, in a sense, that's some version of that, I sense, is waiting for pretty much anyone who feels called to get immersed into their quantum nature. It's the intention of the quantum void to create itself anew into a new style human, if you will. And so that's what happened with me. And then out of that, I woke up one day and there was this calling to get back on the horse, ride it out into the world, and then be whatever this voice is. I don't know if I even responded to your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And more, and more. So I love that because it's like, what's up, beautiful souls? So I've been using peptides consistently and regularly for the last 2 months. And I'm telling you, it's been transforming my life. I feel clearer, my cognition, I have more energy, I'm sleeping better, and I'm starting to get ripped. And so the magic of peptides, if you don't know, there's short chain amino acids that go into your body and they signal certain pathways and they turn on certain pathways in your body, which mimics nature because we are nature. And so some of my favorites, I've been using NAD for energy, especially if you're after the age of 40. NAD can help with clear cognition. It can help decrease inflammation. It can help repair your gut. And when you use really high dose NAD, it can even cause like silent exorcisms. So it's been helpful for me in many ways. I take NAD in the morning when I wake up. I've also been using a microdose of semaglutide. Now, it's amazing right now how much energy I have. My appetite has gone down a little bit, but I feel clear and I feel a lot of energy. I used to
kind of binge eat at night, and that's gone down significantly. The problem with a lot of people using semaglutide or GLP-1 agonists is they're on way too high of a dose. So you can talk to our peptide expert, which can literally formulate for you the perfect peptide cocktail. And remember, this is not research peptides. We're using pure pharmaceutical grade, clean peptides. We know exactly where they come from the pharmacy, prescribed by a doctor, delivered straight to your home with easy to use instructions on exactly how to use it. I've also been using CJC, which is helping me get ripped. I've been working out 2-3 times a week. And literally, I'm starting to already see within a month, like the results, I'm starting to see it. Right. And so these are a few of my favorites, but there's peptides for everything. There's peptides, oh man, not to mention PT141. Some women describe it as a natural version of Viagra, which is not bad or harmful for your body. And so there's PT141, which can help increase sex drive and libido for women and for men, right? And it's as needed. So PT141, I have some of that with me as well. So if you don't know about peptides, what I highly recommend if you're just getting started is schedule a peptide provider consult with one of our experts. You're going to see on the screen here and below in the comments, you can sign up for a peptide provider consult, and you can have a consultation with a peptide expert who's going to literally put you on the exact right regimen. And this is really about quality of life. And so it's been helping me a lot. So check out limitlesslivingmd.com, limitlesslivingmd.com. You can schedule a peptide provider consult, or if you already know what you want, order it on there. Use the code Dr. Lee, DRLEE, for 15% off. Love, light, peace, and truth to all sentient beings. Your greatest wealth is your health. And peptides are helping me, and I hope it can help you too. Shout out to the sponsors, limitlesslivingmd.com.
I'm going to try to explain this from a Christian perspective of what I heard is like even the desire to go quantum, that inkling of that desire, even that comes from what Christians would call the Holy Spirit or consciousness, all that is. And once that happens, there's like a magnetic force that is drawing. And in that process of drawing you into the quantum, it's letting go, letting go, letting go. And you were able to embrace that. And even that desire comes from that quantum pool, that magnetic, which you were talking about. And then it sounds like on the physical, literally the words of Jesus, behold, I make all things new. If anyone is in Christ, they are a new creation. It's a cellular process that started happening where the physical started to break down. And in order for something new to manifest, something must first demanifest. Space must be created. And so the physical started to break down, and then the emotional body. And that, yes, there is this point where when you're merging with the quantum, where it almost feels emotionless, and it can be a little bit boring almost, because you're integrating that D2 emotional body into divine neutrality and merging with the quantum. And then the D3, the thoughts get still. The stillness speaks. And then eventually from there, even the light body, it's not even light, it's beyond the light body, which is D4, 5, 6, light body, soul. And then there you can merge from there beyond the light body into what it appears to be the dark matter body, which is the quantum space from which all matter materializes. And it sounds like you went there. And then while you were there, from there, the dark matter body, the void, but a new started to emerge into the physical, emotional, mental, and the light body. And then from there emerged a new kind of, not new, but yeah, behold, I make all things new. If anyone is in Christ, they are a new creation. The old is gone, the new has come. And then you were given the signal to go and share about the quantum field. And how has that process been, Bill, emerging from the void back into the new kind of service to humanity and being in front of 200 people and all these different aspects? Can you describe that process? Like, is the ego gone completely? Is it still kind of there? Like, how does that work?
That's a great question, actually. First of all, it's a lot more fun being human. That's kind of the way I'd like to say it. Uh,
Yeah.
because it's like in a way that I want to expressed as integrative rather than separatist, this quantum beingness of me that has taken over the humanness of me kind of infuses itself every minute of every day into that humanness and into my interaction with everyone else. So one, it's sort of like, I remember when this is a story for Donna and me, when our son was like probably 3 years old, he was starting to question, is Santa Claus real? And for some reason, my wife and I decided, you know what we're going to do is we're going to tell him the truth. And so we sat him down and we said, you know, you're asking this question. We're going to tell you the truth, but it's one that you maybe shouldn't be sharing with your friends. And it is that Santa Claus, now excuse me if I'm, you know, on some offending someone's beliefs here, that Santa Claus isn't real, but he's a symbol. We didn't use the word symbol to a 3-year-old of love. And he's here as something we all create together to show how much we love each other and blah, blah, blah. We could have told him the whole story. Well, he felt thrilled that he knew the bigger truth of it all. And he never told any of his friends. And he said to us the next 2 or 3 Christmases, he said, you know, it's so much fun knowing the truth and watching everybody else do this. So there's my analogy, if you will. And so it's a lot more fun kind of seeing, and I'm going to use some words here, seeing the unrealness of this creation, seeing the dreamlike nature of it, seeing it beyond the story, the human story itself, beyond duality, beyond morality, and seeing as and through the eyes of this quantum self that is like a proud parent watching a child, looking at the human scene, and not only not having judgment about it, but like being just in awe of even, you know, in the duality of it, the ups and downs, the terrible aspects, etc., and the wonderful aspects, to use judgment. And just like to be neutral in regard to any judgment, but kind of like in a quantum proudness of humanness. So those are not great words, but first of all, it's fun. It's way more fun to not feel a part of the story, but to still be walking in the story, and then to have the privilege of expressing whatever the gifts are, or being a conduit of that to facilitate other people's expression of that. So that would be my overall expression of it.
Resonating. And so life becomes more fun once you're aware of the truth and you're aware of the dream, you're awakened from the dream, and almost like a
Yeah.
quantum proud parent, you're able to witness the unfolding without getting involved in the duality, the morality, while also supporting like a proud parent, and having fun. And this is kind of like the point that I think Buddha was making. You kind of transcend into a space beyond duality, and you stop to create more karma and karmic cycles because you're merged with everything, at one with everything, unattached to anything. Now, Bill, on this other side, you know, and as a kid, I always used to think that there was like a space where you can get to, and perhaps you've gotten there, where like the Buddhic nature, the Christ mind, or is this humanity? Is it still? I guess everybody has their own unique path, but once you merge with the quantum, is there still kind of a human component to it where you still have to do your daily practice and, you know, connect with source and continue to connect with the quantum and have a practice? Or is it more for you, has it been once you're there and you're always there?
Another great question. You asked marvelous questions, by the way. Thank you, Sam. I'm going to make a distinction. I've described what it is for me. For me, it's the once you're there, and it's total and it's complete and it's whole. But the point I really want to make is if we line up 100 people who feel called to, feel oriented toward, feel moved to embrace their quantum nature, there will be 100 different ways of doing that. And there will be 100 different side effects from all of that. And there will be 100 unique kind of callings to that. So everybody's really different. I think the reason it was total for me is just because the quantum wanted some character on earth to be, along with others, to be a strong voice of that. But I feel strongly each one of us is called in a different way. For some of us, that death of the ego will not necessarily be complete and whole. It will be partial, or and it may be almost whole, but the rest of it won't be necessary because of that person's path and that person's calling for how that person is here to be in life. So for some people, if I go back to light and love, as you said, the Christ mind, the Buddha light, if I go there, some people are absolutely called to still live strongly in those worlds and still be on that path, if you will, while still here. For others, the quantum takes over everything. It's like this power. I'm looking for a good verb. It takes over the importance or the necessity of being in those worlds. For example, I noticed there are some people I talk to, and in their sort of quantum journey, so to speak, love starts to disappear. All of a sudden, they were very love oriented, and all of a sudden, they could care less. It's just like I used to love people, and now it's like, oh, I don't feel loving at all. And for a lot of them, it's like love has either just gone into neutral, so as to make way for this, so that even their style of loving can get recreated on the rebound, if you will. And for other people, love just goes from its energy form to its light form. And when love moves from energy and raises its vibrational level to light, it's not an emotion necessarily. So we don't feel love. We're still embracing all. It's still all a win-win, but it's not a feeling. It's not an emotional feeling. So the love has sort of like gotten promoted. It's graduated to that light level, and it stays there, and it'll pretty much always stay there without the emotional component or the energy component serving whatever role that served in the past. So, in so many ways, it's really different for each person. And that's why I feel like each person really needs to let go in a way that is coordinated with what that person's truth is. And so, if there's, I talked about letting go being the only thing, maybe there's a something else, and that is just from a consciousness perspective, being aware of how am I being called in this moment? What's the truth of me in this moment in terms of my quantum nature? How is this calling me? For example, there's one person I'm here to help who is a total uh, exception to almost everything we're talking about. He doesn't fit the generalized mold, so to speak. But it's a totally, completely different person. He happens to be a multi-generational or multi-dimensional kind of a being who's here. He operates on a whole different system. So I need to be present to him in a whole different way. So we can talk about all sorts of generalities, and I do because that's our language. But the truth is, it's an individual journey. It's an individual calling, and each person's path to being all that they can be is totally unique, even from a quantum perspective.
Wow, well said. Yeah. And, that's really, really beautiful to hear because everybody has a unique oscillation and frequency, a reflection of Almighty Living Creator Source. And, to really consult that path. And they chose to be here for that particular path. But I'm happy to know that I love that the uniqueness of each and every single person's journey of source choosing to be uniquely expressed. Authentic expression is the resurrection through unique bodies. But I love the fact that there's also those who are choosing to just radiate the quantum oneness through all of eternity at all times on humanity. That's great and comforting to know. Bill, if you were to rewind, and let's just say you're taking an elevator up the Empire State Building, and you walk into the elevator knowing everything you know now, all the wisdom that you carry, the oneness with the quantum, and there it is, your younger self before he ever merged with the quantum void. and he's sitting there in the elevator, your younger version of yourself, not knowing anything about the quantum void, okay? And you had to ride up the elevator of the Empire State Building, and you could whisper over to him for 64, I don't know, elevator ride, minute or two, and you were to whisper a word of wisdom to your younger self before he even knew about the quantum void or before he started the process. What words of wisdom would you whisper to your younger self?
That, Sam, is a brilliant question. That is just the best. I'm not even thinking yet about the answer because I'm in awe of the question. That is beautiful. So what would I say to this younger version of me? Kind of, it would depend on kind of what stage in life this little character was. If
Mm,
he were really young, I would say, "Hey, hang on. It looks terrible right now, but wow, you will not believe what's going to be happening to you." So that would be that when, let's say, in childhood, when it was a matter of survival. Okay.
mhm,
Then, if he were a little older, I would say perhaps a little more sophisticated version of that, which is, wow, you've found who you are and you've found a slice of the pie of truth. And you think this is really it. And it is for you right now. But always remember, no matter what you know, what you believe, what your sense of self is, what your calling is, that there's always something more. There's always something more. And the privilege of your life is you get to experience all of it. And that's the message I would give. And I say that because as I look at each stage of my particular journey, at the beginning of every stage, I thought, wow, there's this much more to life. That is amazing. And so to me, that was it. And I never quite had the thought that there would be more. So at this point, and then I might say this also. So here I am, this quantum embodiment, if you will. There's still more. Now, the concept of more when it comes to quantum is way too human a concept. There's no more at a quantum level. But for example, in several months, I'm going to take another year off, go back in my cave for the next whatever it is. And whether that will be the last step for me or not, I don't know, because I'm getting up there in age. But after that year, I'm going to come back and be the voice and conduit of whatever that is. And I'm sure it will be quantum, and then these next words really don't fit. But I feel like I'm going to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the quantum, which is an absurd concept, but there's something else waiting there that will be the next gift to help insert into our human field. And I think what that says, if I look at it in the bigger picture, it says humanness is limitless. Humanness is a perceived limitation. It's a perceived reality where we have limitations, and yet built into the very creation of humanness is everythingness. And so that's, for me, we're talking about the quantum void, but to me, the quantum realm, which is all those subatomic particles, all those possibilities, that's the everythingness. So on one side of the coin, there's emptiness. On the other side, there's everythingness. And that everythingness is here. And I think if I'm an embodiment of anything, it's the bigger truth that, wow, there are no limits to what humans can be. And I just happen to be one of those privileged ones who happens to be used maybe as a guinea pig for that human everythingness or whatever it may be. But I'm in this ongoing state of not just gratitude, but celebration. Not about me, because the me word doesn't do much for me. When I look in the mirror, I don't really see a me anymore. But I am here as this archetypal human, as this collective human, and I feel like, as within, so without, just even aside from any words, just there being people like me, like you, like many of those who are watching, here. Just being who we are is its own blessing. It's its own awakening. There's a power there. And I'm calling it at the moment this quantum power that without needing to use the speed of light, without needing to use space, just boom, as here, so there. And that's what the beautiful quantum physics research about subatomic particles is. They can be in two places at the same time. They can exist and not exist at the same time. They can merge, separate, and yet if they're 1,000 miles apart, what happens with one happens with the other. So it's a whole other dimensional way of just being who you are, and that just happens to emanate out into and become a part of humanness. So to me, one of the coolest things about a quantum consciousness is that there are no bounds. There's no limits to who we are and what we are. So in that sense, perhaps we could say, wow, we as humans have just opened up bits and pieces of who we are, and there's so much more. And each of us, and I feel like this is an inspired statement to whoever's watching, each of us can be more, bigger, 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 deeper, deeper, deeper of this being that we are. And if that calling happens to be in there, if any of you happen to feel some kind of nudge to that, some kind of truth to that for yourself, again, I think just letting go and opening to that, and then being as much as it's appropriate and accurate for you in any moment, be the awake dreamer, have the over the forest vision of everything that's going on in your forest, to the point where it's all about becoming more and more and more of who you are.
So, for the listener out there, if you're feeling that pull to become quantum, that even that desire is from that quantum field source, and because of this great love of source, we chose to come to Earth to experience the depths of each other, to learn more about this devotional, magnetic force of source, power, love, which we are. And everything else starts dissolving as we let go, let go, let go. The physical becomes the emotional, it becomes integrated into the mental, and we become one as we let go and let go with the source. And little more time we spend there in the quantum void, we start becoming more of who we really are. The emptiness in the stages, it might be boring for a little while until you merge with your higher heart, and then neutrality takes over, and then more and more as we become no one, nothing, nowhere, everywhere, all at once, we start merging with this quantum force, which is us. And little by little, as we emerge from the cocoon, from the chrysalis, a new, behold, I make all things new, we emerge with some type of ability to just be us and to awaken from the dream and to be able to use our creative, unique beingness, which is our service is beingness, to somehow contribute to humanity, to expand the knowledge of the one. And it never ends. And so if you're on that and you're just starting to awaken, the words of a quantum parent, which we know as Bill, saying, hey man, don't give up. If you just know what's ahead of you, beauty is coming. And then if let's just say we're at that point in precipice where we're a young adult, we're like, I found it, I got it. Hey, well, yes, and there's more. And even if we've gone to that point where we know about the quantum, we've merged with the quantum, we're gonna even more be able to become even more and more and more and more and more of who we really are, until we literally merge with the into our quantum field, the first creation physics happening perpetually, continuously through us, to learn more about this great love of source, and everything that is not real starts to fade. And what we realize is the only thing that is real is love, which is the cohesive power of the universe, the glue of the universe, which holds my cells together, my atoms together, my sanity together, my family together, which holds the universe together. And I am this love, and we are limitless. And it's such an important inflection point in humanity's history. Bill, I don't think you're going to have to come back after this lifetime. Most likely, you can go wherever you want. But if you were going to come back, as a human being, let's just say you go to the quantum vault, you're hanging out there for 1 billion years, you get a little bored again, you're like, hey, maybe I'll give that humanity a try again. what would you come back as if you were gonna come back? Like, would you come back with a like a singer or like a musician, or what would you come back as?
You know, I've never had that thought. That is great. This makes no sense, but the first thought that
Mhm.
just jumped into my mind is I would come back as a bartender. Yes. And I
Oh,
think what I mean by that
yeah.
is bartenders are some of the greatest therapists in the world.
Mm.
Bartenders listen to people's stuff. And I would come back as a bartender with a, call it a higher consciousness that just let me listen, 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 and unify with this person, that person, all these drinkers who are drowning in their own pain, and just be there with this ongoing embrace. So that's the first one. The second one that comes to me is, and I had this thought before, as a Walmart greeter. It's kind of the same thing, and that is, and I don't think most Walmarts have greeters anymore, but they used to have this greeter in the front, for those of you who don't remember, who would welcome you to the store. And so I would just be there welcoming anybody and everybody to the store and just letting my heart and my spirit um, bless them in that moment. And that would be it. I notice what's not popping up is leadership and anything that's a hugely obviously charismatic kind of expression. But I think the reason those two come up, I love your question. You have wonderful questions. The reason those two come up is it really is so much about just the moment. And for me, when we were talking about everything we're talking about, for me, the simplicity of all this is we've got this moment. And all that matters is this moment. All that matters is how I show up to this moment. All that matters is what this moment is and can be in and of itself. And for me, in my life, I just feel called to this moment. So no matter who I'm with, or if I'm all by myself, or no matter what's going on in the world, there's a moment, and I can be in this moment in a way that is not just precious to whoever's in this moment, but it's my gift to life and to creation itself. So I think that would pretty much say it. Bartender and Walmart greeter. I think that says it.
That, that's beautiful. I love that. Bill, how can people find your work, and if they want to connect with you and perhaps get more onto what you're up to and connect with you, how can they find out what you're up to?
That's a great question. Thank you. First of all, if you're interested in my book, it's called Emptiness Dreaming, and the subtitle is The Story of Creation as Seen Through the Eyes of the Quantum Void. It's on Amazon, and it's Bill Bauman. Second, I have a website that I think will lead you to a number of things. It's called www.quantumsource.info. Quantumsource.info, info. And in that, I've got all sorts of little articles in there. There also happens to be a blog in there with sort of more than 100 blog entries, half of them from me that are, and mine are recorded as well as written. There also happens to be descriptions of offerings that I do. Like a couple of times a month, I do my own Zoom teleconference. One is called Quantum Meditation. The other is called All Things Quantum, where I just talk about, and then we have question and answer time in relation to all things quantum. So there are those kinds of things if you're at all interested. What I love about the website is it gives you, through all the things you can listen to, watch, read about, it feeds your quantum search, if you will, and feeds you while you're doing it. If I may add to that, what I've loved about this, Sam, with you, is we're sort of double teaming these poor people out there who thought they were signing up for just you interviewing me.
Mhm.
But that's my joke, by the way. But what I loved about it is just because of the kind of vision I have. I tend to see all sorts of things through 7 or 8 different sets of eyes at the same time. It's a cute little thing. And I'm really seeing the inspiration. So this is, on the one hand, we're talking concepts, but the concepts here are one, interesting in and of themselves, but two, they're like door openers to something else. So this is a ritual, almost like a sacred ritual that's going on with us and with everybody who's here. So there's some kind of blessing that's happening, and from a quantum perspective, I'm noticing there's a quantum zone, a quantum vortex, if you will. We talk about an energy vortex and a light vortex. We're all, you, me, and us, we're sitting in this quantum vortex together, and I'm noticing that. And to me, that's like a sacred little ceremony we're having, where the quantum is speaking through Sam's and my words, but it's also speaking to each one of us at an internal quantum level. And I'm just deeply appreciating that. And I thank everybody who's listening, looking, and being a part of this for participating in this ceremony. To me, it's been super precious.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for, I just want to say what a quantum, I guess the word is blessing. It is to know that there's Bill Bauman existing as quantum potential and being for humanity, literally merged 100% with the quantum. And to have that in a human body, what a blessing that is to humanity, to tune into that, to be able to tune into that frequency. Bill, you've already said it, it's a blessing for anyone. Could you kind of close us out with any intentional words? Let's just say someone's out there driving right now, any quantum blessing you want to intentionally bless anyone with to close out this episode?
Do we have about 10 minutes for just a short guided meditation?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay. Wow. Thank you. Again, between you and me, Sam is amazing. He's a master, not just of questions, but of all sorts of things. You're wise to be listening to him. He's cool. There, you didn't hear that. So yeah, thank you. What a beautiful invitation. So I'd like to invite us to take 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes and just kind of be, just for a moment, just kind of be the you that you got created to be. And just to kind of let that you let go. Let go into the next invitation, the invitation that's here right now. And notice perhaps that as that you is letting go, sort of surrendering to whatever of your quantum nature might be calling you, might be in some less than tangible way saying to you, oh, I'm here. I'm here. And let me show you who you are from outside the dream. Let me show you what you are in terms of the all that you are. And let me invite you into my emptiness, which is your emptiness. Let go. And just in these few moments, allow my presence, quantum non-beingness, the empty non-space within you, me, who is the source of all that you appear to be. Let me just take over. Let me just be you right now. I'm nothing, and yet I'm everything. And I'm just now taking over all the facets of you that you have felt limited by, subject to. feeling lesser than who you truly are. Let my power, quantum power, enter into your body's cells, into your energy field's life force, into your emotions, feelings, into your heart, into your soul, into your everything. Open to this me, quantum presence, and this me, quantum power, as just as this blessing in this moment, I, your quantum presence, your quantum power, fill you with the bigness of you, with the emptiness of you, with the innate, integral power of you, the power to be more, to be full, to be me, to be this quantum power that knows the you that you came here to be and has the power to infuse in you and through you that me that is now the you that's ready to move forward and onward. I am you. You are me. Thank you.
I and the Father are one. Father, Mother, God, Creator, Source. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are one, we are one, we are one. Thank you, Bill.
Sam, thank you. It has been nothing short of a joy and a privilege. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Till next time, have a beautiful week. See you next week.